to jump into our questions. And this session, again, is a little bit more geared toward learner-to-learner interaction. So we're going to start with our first question. And actually, I think we'll start with Maeda Sensei since you talked about challenges. The question is, in the context of online language teaching, what are your biggest challenges using Japanese during learner-to-learner interaction? And how do you address those challenges?
Well, I cannot find any challenges. And good teaching, good teachings. I'm sure you are, already doing the great, learner to learner interactions, maximizing, using the target language in your regular face-to-face classroom. So it's no difference, doing that online. So I don't really see any challenges. So all you have to do is just transfer the good practice to online. But I'd like to share some of the things I've been doing. So for during the synchronous session, I think the plenty of supports for the students is really important. So I usually use the, Google Slides, and then on the Google Slides, I include the communicative strategies list, and then or useful expressions list, or target structures or keywords. And so, for example, strategies list include like, ああ、そうですか。私ももう一度お願いします。ゆっくりお願いします。So these are the one that really, students need during the interaction. And instead of asking, what did you say in English? They should be able to saying this all the time in Japanese. So, every time I share this, okay, here is the communication strategies. And make sure you use these, maybe two or three this time, right? So I really encourage them. And also help with the self-awareness. You might also want to give the students checklist so that students can monitor their own language use. All right, so now, I'm gonna send you to the breakout room to do this, but here is the list, and the list might say, did you use at least 5 Japanese words or today's keywords or that type of thing. So the students can constantly, focus on that. And also I'd like to focus on growth, not the perfection. Oh, you didn't use Japanese, that's not good. No, 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 they are learning. So it's okay to use English. But sometimes at the end of the class, I give them exit tickets to reflect on their language learning. So like that might include today's class, how much Japanese did you use? Like, most of the time or 50%. And then how can you improve that for the next session? So that students can really think about that. And then the breakout room, I usually float between the breakout rooms, just like I would do in the physical classroom. And then the reason is I'm not there to policing, oh, you're not using Japanese, but try to support and praise when they're using Japanese. Well, oh yeah, that's great. Keep up on doing. And also here you can say, ゆっくりお願いします, right? Remember that? So that's what I am doing. And also I encourage you to think about why students are having difficulty using Japanese during the interaction, right? This can apply to your, non-online environment too. Maybe the students need more scaffolding. Remember scaffolding we talked about the day one, and also more practice. So I also give the student for the as- asynchronous online time, I give them a speaking practice with AI so they can practice and get ready for the synchronous session, right? Yes, you've done this with AI, so now today you get to talk to the real person, your classmate. So that practice, and also Padlet, I think, I ask students to submit their speaking, like some video, then students can watch and ask questions. So that again, this will be a great practice and preparation for the synchronous live session. So that, but are you talking about, Sarah, are you talking about the synchronous online session or the asynchronous session interaction? Both?
Me either, because there's the aspect of when you're together, it's synchronous sessions. And I agree, a lot of the stuff from face-to-face classroom absolutely will carry over. Personally, I do find some challenges with the asynchronous
Okay,
interaction
right.
between learners to learners. So if you have any impact on or feedback on that, we're happy to
Yeah.
hear about it.
So that I think the asynchronous, that, leveraging the technology, anything is possible. So I usually use Padlet so that students can, share the video, speaking assignments and so forth. And also, if you are collaborating with your, partner school in Japan, then asynchronous is a great way because you don't have to worry about the time differences, right? So I use Padlet a lot to collaborate, with Japanese students so that for example, I'd like to share one of my favorite speaking activities. Well, self-introduction, you do that, but use the format of two truths and a lie self-introduction, right? So the student's gonna make a three sentences. Two of the sentences about you is truth, and one is a lie, right? So that student's gonna, post that speaking assignment self-introduction video. Then I don't stop there. So I have students to see two other classmates' video, and then this time respond to the two other classmates' video. Oh, I think number one is true, no, not true, or number three is that's wrong information. But students have to do this again, all in Japanese, right? So that's the step two. And then the third layer is now you must get lots of comment from your classmates. So go back to your original video introduction and watch all other people's comments and guesses, then present your answer. So this way you can have multiple interaction time. And yeah, it's not done like the spontaneously, but this is the best things you can do over the asynchronous. And I really enjoy doing that. I can learn a lot about my students. So it's a great activity for the community building as well, right? Thank you.
Yes, I agree. It's a great way to build community, but as educators, we can also get to know more about our students. That's going to help us to build those connections and build rapport with them. That way they get to know us and feel a lot more comfortable working with us. It's going to help push them outside their comfort zones. Thank you so much for that, Maeda Sensei. Really good. And so, the same question, let's go to you, Bostwick Sensei. In the context of online language teaching, what are your biggest challenges using Japanese during learner to learner interaction, and how do you address those challenges?
Well, thank you. Maeda Sensei, you gave a lot of good examples that I was going to share as well, but I'm going to just build on what you had said because I think that sometimes we find that when we say, okay, students, go talk about, go introduce yourselves, but then they're just very quiet when they're in the breakout rooms. They don't know what to say. They resort to English or chit chat. So the giving the keywords or the chat mats like was explained in the chat box, those are very good key points. And I find even myself when I'm attending a professional development and they say, okay, everyone go talk about XYZ, but you don't remember what those things were, even if you have just the keywords in Japanese or English to tell you what were those things you were supposed to talk about before you go to your break room, I think are important. Also, in our K-12 environment, we have so many students now that are reporting that they are seeing a doctor or a therapist for anxiety, and they have a very difficult time doing the synchronous discussions. So preparing them in advance also has become very important for us. We either provide them with the topics that they're going to talk about or those key strategies ahead of time before the synchronous time even happens, because there are so many that are just afraid to even turn on the microphone. So we're trying to combat that because we do want them to have that experience, but yet still kind of respect the fact that they're suffering from anxiety. So we're trying to find the best possible scenario for them. Another thing that could be done is if you send your students to breakout rooms, you can let them know ahead of time that they're going to have to report back what they talked about and what did their partners say. Like if they did the self-introduction Maeda sensei was talking about, okay, come back now, tell me, introduce your partner that you just talked with in the breakout room, so that they know they have to come back with something. Even if it's a lie, they have to come back with something. So they need to prepare that with their partner. Another thing you could do is you could have some peer evaluation. How would you assist your partner in making some better sentences, better questions, or things like that? What else did I have here? I think that was most of the additional things that I wanted to add after listening, I should say, to Maeda Sensei's answers.
Thank you for that, Revae. And yes, trying to do that peer evaluation again from the growth mindset, making it all about how can we make things even better. I love that. And you also touched upon something, especially for the K-12 environment. We really have to be mindful that some of our students, personally, I've had several who have IEPs and accommodations that say this student is suffering from anxiety, depression, and we have to make sure that we honor that because we have to comply with the law. But at the same time, we want them to be able to speak and share things. So we really have to walk a line in the K-12 environment. And I think the tips that you gave are good, where we're doing as much as we can. We're providing the scaffolding, right? And letting them know what to expect so that way they can feel a little safer in these social interactions. Thank you for that, Revae. I appreciate that. Let's go to Nozaki Sensei next. And again, the same question. In the context of online language teaching, what are your biggest challenges using Japanese during learner-to-learner interaction, and how do you address those challenges?
Yeah, so for me, my biggest challenge using Japanese in the like online setting is to secure enough time for the student to speak out in the limited time. So it's similar to the classroom setting, but as I saw a first part of the yesterday's session, and I think Raft Sensei mentioned that there is some lag between the interaction to the teachers between the participants. So yeah, after I did online classes every day, like COVID time, yeah, I found online teaching takes more time to do activities. Like usually when I doing in-person sitting, I can do 6 activities, but in the online I can do only like 4 or 5. So in order to like keep up the same schedule as in person, yeah, I like using breakout rooms, and yeah, that's a great way to secure speaking time. It's pretty much same strategy as in the classroom setting to increase each student's speaking time, like making a pair work or group work so that everyone have more time to speak out. So, but as I think, I'm sorry, my pronunciation is by Bostwick sensei, mentioned like it is very important to tell students to be like be prepared to get into the breakout room. So yeah, before I assign breakout room to the students, I make sure students have already mastered the correct forms, like T-forms or certain grammar structure, and make sure everyone mastered the form. And then I send them to the breakout rooms. And after assign the breakout rooms, I visit each room to check if they are doing the interactions well. And yeah, and also Maeda sensei mentioned a very important thing. I'm not trying to monitoring like policing your performance, but just try to keep positive attitude to the student and keep motivating them to speak well without worrying about making mistakes. And yeah, so while doing the breakout rooms, I noticed that usually in online class, I share like PowerPoint slides or Google slides or like as a whole the presentation like in-person classroom. But once they went into the breakout room, they cannot see those shared slides. So I'm a big fan of Google Slides and Google Docs. So I usually created a Google Doc as a shared classroom notes. And if I have time, I list up my target grammar or important points or useful expressions to use in the breakout rooms. And then after students went into the breakout rooms, they can refer to that Google Doc and in case when they forget what they are supposed to do in the breakout rooms and so on. Yeah, and yeah, so to secure the student speaking time, breakout room is a very helpful tools. And also, this is also mentioned by Maeda sensei, and I also take advantage of the outside the classroom time as well to increase the students' learning time. So, yeah, I think Maeda sensei mentioned yesterday or today, last time or today, my school also uses a Canvas, and I often use discussion board. Still, I use discussion board as assignment now. And so it's also a great tool for like outside classroom do outside classroom interactions for students. So like one of the fun activity was like I assigned students to create their original memes and post it in the discussion board. And students see their classmates funny memes and just leave comments so that it's very fun. Like yeah, any any schools like students love any fun, humorous like funny activities. So that was a good activity. Yeah, and also I just learned Maeda Sensei's like two truths and one lie introduction. So I will use this semester's introduction. Yeah, I also use Padlet for self-introduction when I don't have time. Usually I secure to secure my class time. So yeah, that was also very fun activity. Yeah, and I also like the Padlet as well. But yeah, recently they changed to more like paid version. Like still we can use like free 3 Padlets. So, but Padlet is also a great tool to upload the short videos. So yeah, it's also good for students to interact outside the classroom as well. Yeah, so my biggest challenge is to try to secure more student speaking time, either in classroom and outside classroom.
I agree, using time efficiently to really maximize the amount of output our students are giving us and then giving them that live feedback. It's challenging, but I like the ideas you shared. I also am probably going to have to borrow that idea about memes just to have the students collaborate and use memes to make connections with each other. And it's a great way to build a following as well. I think a lot of students taking your class would say, hey, if you take Japanese with Nozaki sensei, you get to do this meme activity. And so people will be interested, right? So a great way to also build the program through fun. Thank you so much for that. And Kobuke sensei, definitely last but not least, let's go to you in the context of online language learning. What are your biggest challenges using Japanese during learner to learner interaction, and how do you address these challenges?
Think everyone has mentioned a lot of strategies already, but I think in order to encourage students to be using and communicating in the language, it's important to foster the students wanting to figure out what's being said in Japanese and being okay with ambiguity. And being able to understand, being okay with ambiguity and being okay with not being able to understand everything that's being said. And I think that comes with being exposed to hearing that all the time. So like telling stories about yourself and sharing that, and then checking for comprehension. And then both synchronous as well as asynchronous, we can do that. And this, Maeda sensei already mentioned the key, providing students with the tools they need to communicate. I have a student, an older student, who wants to live in Japan. and he took just the beginning level Japanese with us, and then he's studying abroad on his own in Japan. And he said the most important thing he learned in Japanese 101 was すみません、もう一度ゆっくりお願いします. And this is what Maeda has already mentioned, but or 何々は日本語で何と言いますか or 英語で何と言いますか or 何々って何ですか were so useful in speaking. And I wanted to, in an asynchronous course, to build the strategies for students to be able to use that. I wanted to build a chat bot to practice that communication strategy. And I was actually inspired, I think Rachel Sensei is here, by Rachel Mamiya Hernandez Sensei's demonstration on how to use Mizu to create chatbots. And I actually created one. And this is my first time, and I'm refining it to use in the fall. And I encountered challenges that Luft Sensei mentioned on Monday about the chatbot not following our instructions or directions. But it's, I think, especially in an online asynchronous course, having that practice with the chatbot is provide students with more confidence in using it when they have to practice it with classmates or with a tutor. And I'm going to go off a little bit on a tangent, but because I'm new to creating chatbots, I joined an AI professional development program with the University of Hawaii Online Innovation Center. And that was this summer, just about a month ago. And I learned about AI literacy using the UNESCO AI competency framework for teachers and for students. My gosh, it was just so eye-opening, like, me kara uroko, really eye-opening. And I was just thinking, oh, I'm going to create a chatbot for my course in the fall semester. But now I know I need to start with AI literacy in Japanese, learning language, learning any type of language, addressing how does AI work, the ethical issues using AI in a course, reliability, the bias, doing what's right when using AI, and protecting personal information, privacy. So especially with a beginning level class, most of what we're going to be practicing is information about the student themselves. So names, お名前は, or, where did you come from? Those types of information that students are going to want to put in about themselves. So I'll be, when I do this in the fall semester, I'll be making sure to go over AI literacy with the students, make sure when you practice with your chatbot, use a nickname or some name that's not your own. And then where you're from, don't put in exactly where you're from, but try to use places you want to be living in, or other locations. And so Mizu has been approved by our university, by the third-party tools list, but I think it's still good to be cautious and provide that information to the students, and the information about sustainability. Students are really into sustainability now, but knowing about how much the massive energy that's needed when using AI, I didn't know about that. So having students know about that, they'll probably still use it, but still having that in the back of the mind, I think is important. And our college, Kapiolani Community College, is an indigenous serving institution. So aligning the AI guidelines with the college's mission and values, and presenting that to students from the beginning, maybe with like a H5P interactive or course presentation, and then going into the chatbot is what I'm thinking right now. I'm working on and getting ready for the fall semester. So I'm really still a newbie at the chatbot.
Well, it's great to hear that you're really diving into the deep end with that, Kobuke Sensei. And I know there's so much to think about with AI, as you talked about the guidelines and making sure we're protecting student privacy. In the K through 12 world, so much of the stuff we're teaching students to share about themselves in Japanese is personally identifiable information that has to be protected by FERPA. So there's so many things to think about. And I think you did a great job of giving an overview of all the things that we have to consider if we're using AI. So thank you so much for sharing that. Great stuff here. Thank you all, everyone.